wanted it on camera, so I gave it to you. This is, what is this? Oh yeah, this is Poet the Poet, and it's that infamous poetry and music and other fun stuff TV show that we've been putting on for the longest time now, thank goodness. And I'm Robert Dunn, and I'm the host of this taffy pull. And we have some very fine taffy to pull indeed, because our guests today are Jane Murphy and Stanley H. Barkin. And Stanley's from Cross-Cultural Communications. He's got a lot of strange stories to tell about cross-culturing. And, but it's a great pleasure to have them both here, and especially in this charming locale. This is the Kitchen Cabaret in East Hills on Long Island, and we're grateful to Bill King for letting us come out and do whatever it is that we do here. And I'm going to start with Jane Murphy. Now, Jane Murphy is not only a fine poet, but she's also an actress, so look out. You know what happens whenever an actress comes on a show like this. She has leading roles in over 24 musical comedy productions in regional and stock theaters, and a few stock markets as well, I understand. Let's see, you've done West Side Story, you've done Kismet, you've done Song of Norway and Norway of Song, and Guys and Dolls and vice versa, all kinds of things. And you did hotels and supper clubs in the Caribbean, in South America, usually before the revolutions. And
during.
During.
Yeah.
That ought to be very interesting. There must be some very tough audiences in the middle of a revolution. Let's see, you have a storybook for beginning readers, My Pet Tyrannosaurus.
That's right.
Jane, a Tyrannosaurus is not the sort of pet you start with.
Well,
at least I never thought so.
I was heavily into dinosaurs at the time. See, I was doing my publisher had asked me to do an album of songs about dinosaurs for children. And then he followed that with a request for a song book based on one of the songs.
Yeah.
A little story about what it would be like for a child to have a pet Tyrannosaurus.
Well, I'll tell you, if I had known that, I would have brought my Barney piece, but probably just as well. Anyway, welcome to Poet the Poet, Jane. And how about, to keep with the point of the show, how about a little poem?
Very good. This is by way of introduction. It is based in where I came from, and it's a little comment on my roots. I have a little bit of Mohawk blood in my ancestry, and it worked in here some. My original home was up in the Adirondack Mountains, and the title of the poem is Adirondack Child. My mother is a mountain queen, sprawled in a sky throne, her shoulders shawled with moss. Oaks and maples basketed in her lap with infant-fisted ferns, sun-pungent pines. Leaning upon her breast, I hear the aortal roar of icy amber waters, breasting boulders deep in the rib-clasped caverns where her great heart drums and drums. She hears the old familiar hum of Mohawk blood that muses through my veins, like the slow, warm sap of my forgotten springtimes. She has counted all my seasons, all my years. They lie in yellowed layers at her feet, among the sepia leaves and the curling shreds of promise-scrawled birch parchment. Sometimes when I am far away, where street lamps wipe the moonlight dry and sip the drops of starlight from the sky, the mountain queen still keeps my pale reflection in a rock-rimmed locket filled with water and holds it up to the moon's blank nodding face and says, "This is my daughter."
And later on, Jane is going to sing Edvard Grieg's In the Hall of the Mountain Queen.
A cappella.
A cappella. Well, that too. Let's see. And how do you find time to write the poetry when you're running around doing all these musicals and whatnot?
Well, I've made time for it now because it's something I've been wanting to get back to. Just pure poetry. I've been composing songs for children for a good number of years because that was the wheel that was squeaking the loudest, and that was where my publisher was keeping my attention. But now I've really wanted to do this, and I've just come back from living a year in England and found out that you people have this wonderful poets organization, Poet to Poet.
And you came all the way back from England just for us?
Well,
I'm
I'd like
flattered.
to say that no, my visa ran out, actually. Let's be frank.
What about your other credit
But
cards?
coming back, coming back to Long Island and finding out about Poet to Poet gave me just the excuse I needed to start coming to the meetings and starting to write my poetry.
Well, let's have another wheel squeak. How about another poem?
All right. This is a poem about a day in spring. Actually, it was my birthday, and it's a little incident that happened that gave me a moment's reflection. It's called The Herald. I was sure it was a dry leaf thrown aside by an impatient spring wind, foraging for fresh blossoms among last fall's leftovers. I was sure it was a dead leaf that the wind dropped in front of me on the asphalt driveway, swift-wristed as a child discarding a candy wrapper. And so, Vivaldi on the radio and groceries in the trunk, I drove over it. Opening the car door, I saw, stuck to my tire tread, a small powdery brown patch, the first butterfly of the season. On this, my birthday, he had been a gift to me, this messenger from a far battlefield, giddy with the news of spring's victory, and see what I had done. Such are the risks that heralds run. When the dove returned, did Noah and his crew wring its neck and serve it in a stew?
Dove stew, huh? Let's see, you've been to England. Stan, I know you've been to England.
Yes.
You two didn't run into each other while you were there, did you?
No.
Uh-huh. Well, with all these I've been to England once too. With all these world travelers in the frame here, I think that it's a very auspicious occasion. We ought to mark it with a photograph. What we do with that photographer? Oh, there she goes. Come here, Vanna. This is Jody Raymond, our house paparazzi here at the Kitchen Cabaret. I'd like to buy a vowel. I'll see you later in the dressing room, okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Solve the puzzle.
Yes, a big hand for Jody there. All right, not to cut into your time. How about another poem?
Oh, lovely. All right. This was written for a friend who was a very faithful walker. We used to exercise together before she moved away, and it's called It Is Raining. It is raining, I say to my daughter. She is 16 and wears blue jeans with the knees sliced like mounts that open and close when she walks. You are trying to manipulate me into wearing a raincoat, she says. It is raining, I say to my mother. She's 76 and widowed and drives a block-long Buick, and I notice has shortened a lot of her skirts lately. Stop coddling me. I'm not some senile old thing, she says. It is raining, I say to my son. He is 21, and in his jeans pockets he carries guitar picks that I find when the machine stops spinning. One little dent and you're still nagging me about my driving, he says. It is raining, I say to my husband. Now, don't exaggerate, it's just a shower. In fact, it's clearing right now. There's a high-pressure system moving in. You can't really call this a rainy day, he says. It is raining, I say to my friend. Let's get our umbrellas, she says. Let's take a walk in the rain.
I knew I should have brought my umbrella.
Beautiful.
Oh, well. If you want to be remembered for just this one creative endeavor, would it be the poetry or the kids' books or the show-stopping musicals?
That is the question I've been trying to answer all my life, and I've decided that it's not important.
Oh, well, I sort of
It depends on...
I sort of had a sporting proposition for you. Heads the poetry.
I never thought of that. That was great.
Tails the music. All right, ready? Here we go. Come back here with that. Wait. What is heads?
Heads.
All right, it's poetry. Well,
This is poetry.
well, that's fitting because it is Poet the Poet after all. And where do you get your ideas? I know where I get mine. That's
Well, for my children's songs from my publisher.
Yeah.
They're very good. Kimball is very good about giving me little assignments.
Does he pay you or do you pay him? For the ideas.
Oh no,
Oh.
it's on him. Thank you very much.
That's very nice of a symbiosis. Okay.
But for the poetry, I think like all the people, the good people who are in Poet to Poet, it depends on what happens. Sometimes it stings you, and you just feel that you have something more to say on these things, and that's the way it happens.
People have accused me of running a sting operation. Anyway, you have one teeny weeny little poem.
Yes. All right. I wrote this in England on a train on the way to London. It was a spring day, and it was gray, and it was unpleasant, except there was little signs of the season changing, and I call this litmus test. The willows that stand watch along the Thames have dipped long strips of tender brown into the wet and windy air of March and come up green. The air has tested positive for spring.
Ah. Okay, as a matter of fact, I'm getting a sensation in my knee that it's almost time for earthquake weather. So before we get hit, I'm going to thank you, Jane Murphy, for coming on Poet to Poet, and we'll be back in a moment with Stanley Barkin, so stay with us.